Hey guys, welcome back to Mind Body Tutor. My name is Justin, and today we're gonna go over chord transitions. Today's gonna be a super short lesson because there's not a ton to teach, but there's some things I want to let you know when you're practicing your chord transitions. So chord transitions are very tough. So last episode we learned about chords. We learned the C, D, and G chord, and some strum patterns. But when creating a song, you have multiple chords with the same strum pattern, so you have to learn to switch your fingers super quick. So like in one song, you see like that, you can't just take your time getting to those different chords. You have to be super fast and super punctual and effect to stay on that beat that we're talking about. So just some pointers for you guys. When chord changing, it's going to take a super long time. It is very tough. So you just got to push through, and eventually you're going to build up to get to that speed. So first tip, when you're starting off with any song, start at like half speed of that song. So whenever I'm learning a song on Guitar Tabs, which is just this guitar app which shows you the different chords and finger placement for different songs, I always go half speed at first, because if I try to go too fast, I'm gonna lose my pace, I'm gonna fall way behind, and I'm not gonna feel good about myself. So what I would recommend is just taking a half speed. So if one song's going like Bad Moon Rising, what I would do when I'm first learning is so I'm gonna just really slow it down, really make sure that I get all my strums in. I'm making graceful chord changes, and just making sure it sounds good and I'm not being sloppy. And because if I'm sloppy, my chord is gonna buzz and the song is not gonna sound as good. So just really focus on that, slow it down, it's gonna be a lot easier. And then what you can also do is eventually just go a tiny bit faster each time you play until you get to full speed. But definitely don't go full speed right away. It's not gonna end up well unless you're super advanced and you can like play a song you've never played before, like perfect beat, just by reading it, which is really tough for a lot of people. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is just really think about how those chords are changing. So if I'm going from from D major to C major, I realize that this pointer finger doesn't have to move a whole lot. It's going from the second fret of the G string to the first fret of the B string. So it's from here to here. That's all I'm doing. So that's something I don't need to think about as much. But when I go with my middle finger, I'm going from the second fret on the high E string to the second fret of the D string, and that's a far more dramatic change. So that's just something else to keep in mind. Know how the chord is gonna look and try to find the similarities and tiny differences between chords, and it's gonna be a lot easier for you to grasp and think beforehand how you're gonna move your fingers. Because if not, it's gonna be like just randomly you're throwing different chords and you have to change them as quickly as possible. And it's possible, but it's really tough when you're learning how to play guitar. So that's gonna be tip number two. Just think ahead about what chord you're gonna be playing next, because also most songs are broken into parts. So there's like your verse, your chorus, your bridge, and all those parts are typically going to be loops of the same chords. So Like, so Bad Moon Rising, the verse would be, but the chorus changes to, so I have to think about those chord changes beforehand, or else I'm gonna miss it, and my opportunity to make that chord change is gonna slip, and I'm gonna be off beat. So thinking ahead, just knowing the chords, and then the other tip, and last video we went over the 2 forms of G, of the G chord, because when you start playing songs and you're constantly going from the C chord to the G chord, if you look at how my fingers move from each chord, if I start at the C chord here, I can either go here. If you're able to play this G form, this like type of G where you can use your fingers these ways, you're moving your fingers very little. But if you play the more common way to play G, you're going from here to here. You're rotating your entire hand to get to those 2 chords. So if you're in a super fast song, see, like, I can barely play it. But if I go from, I can go all day long. Obviously, it's not as good, but I think you really get the idea here. So, again, just kind of knowing, and if you can play a chord like a different way with maybe less common finger placement, it may make playing that song a lot easier. So those would be just 3 super easy tips that I would recommend to you, to really everyone trying to learn a guitar, or even if they have started learning guitar and they're on like kind of intermediate right now and they're just trying to get better at chord changes and chord progressions. Just really focus on that, and I think it will benefit you a lot. So that's actually all we have today. I just want you guys to be thinking about that. I didn't really think I needed to smash it with any other content or make this a super long episode, and I'm so happy I'm on this journey with you, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Keep living your best life.